participants in the green economy, whether you are a green jobs worker doing energy efficiency retrofits, or whether you're an individual who brings their shopping bag to the market, you're decision makers, right, and you're voters, right, and so you have an impact, and really by exercising that right, you become the champions and the leaders in this new green economy and in positively impacting the climate. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane, and the other panelists. I think we have a good cross-section of speakers here. I'm going to open it up to questions. Does this thing come off so that we can pass the mic through? Yeah, it does. I got it. Does anybody have a question?
Yeah,
Understand?
I think kind of for Jane, but I think everyone could address this. We've got climate change is, of course, the key issue. All these other issues we're talking about green jobs, are pointless if there's catastrophic climate change, and we're very close to that point. We're nearing Copenhagen climate talks. We're nearing action in the House and the Senate on that, although that's getting to be less and less of a reality. And I'm curious what we, with a variety of political and economic and business backgrounds and roles, what the advice would be to resist the sort of politicization that has happened with the healthcare reform discussion as we approach Copenhagen and our sort of last stand against catastrophic climate change.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, that's a very big question. I think that that's something that really, it's really probably a bigger issue than we could tackle in this room. But you know, at the risk of being very, very repetitive, I think regardless of what party you are in or what your personal interest is, there is a reality to the fact that no job is going to have value if we continue to let global warming go forward as it's going forward, right? It's going to impact every single individual on the planet. It's going to impact every single business. So I think that, you know, again, regardless of, you know, what your political leaning is, I think it's very, very important that we continue to send the message about the environmental crisis, number one, and the urgency of that, and number two, about individual action. And I think that that individual action, again, is not, it's great to bring your coffee cup, and it's really critical, and every time you do, somebody else at the table is going to say, you know what, I'm going to remember to bring my coffee cup tomorrow. But also about using your power with the elected officials. The elected officials are, their paycheck comes from us. We're the ones that put them into office, and we can call up, whether it's your city council or your assembly member or your congressman, you can call them and you can write to them and you can email them and you can say, this is what's most important to me. And they actually will take note of it because they'll want your vote next time. So regardless of what their intention or leaning or party partisanship issues are, they really want the voters to let them know what the voters want, and then they're going to respond to that. So I think that's really important. So whether, you know, it's something that comes across your email, or if you're really a good proactive person and you actually write a letter, sign your name to it, or you go to the websites of the organizations that you care about and you find out how you can take action, I think that's really what's necessary, because yes, the crisis is, the urgency is powerful. We're going to reach the tipping point, and then all of the economic advantage that we may have found is not going to have value if we have hundreds of millions of environmental refugees, if agriculture fails because of climate change. So I think that I appreciate your making that point, and I think that our request would be for people to take personal action.
And beyond that, there's been a clear shift in public opinion, in the business environment, in the political environment, particularly here in the U.S., that green is good. And so everyone knows that something has to happen. And that's why we believe that facilitating meetings like this, participating in the engagement of opposing views, you know, bringing people, the public in, bringing public sector agencies in, private interest in, bringing educators together, bringing community activists together, bringing employers, developers, manufacturers together to discuss how we move forward. We're at the emphasis. California is in the lead, clearly, around the world, actually. Everybody's looking to LA to see what's going to happen, what templates are creating on how green policy moves forward. And so we have an opportunity here to create an environment that can be replicated across the country and can be viewed by the rest of the world as how to create positive changes that impact the environment. And we have to shift the discussion so that I agree with the Harvard Review reports that green is good business, right? It makes sense for business to do, businesses that are on the leading edge of adopting green policies also are on the leading edge of innovation, invention, patents, etc., which means that they're transformational organizations, which means that they're employers that are growing, that are capturing new markets, that are expanding their reach in each of the markets that they're in. So this all leads to everybody wanting to jump on the bus. The question is, where is everybody seated, and how do we make the bus move in the same direction, right? So, but I think that the focus has shifted, and everybody just wants to figure out how we move from here. But we got to do it collectively together and get everybody involved.
Any other panelists comments on that?
I have a question for Mo on the hotel. That was the first LEED hotel. One of the pictures you showed an insulated water heater. I know that on a residential it makes sense to have a tankless water heater. Does that work at all in a commercial?
In this case, it does, because it's a smaller boutique hotel, 168 rooms, and they found that the tank water heater actually serves their purpose just fine. They're actually consistently recirculating water through the hotel, so when the clients turn on the spout, they have hot water right away. It's worked for them. It's fairly energy efficient for them at this point. We didn't really explore tankless for that facility because of the amount of the output of
Their
energy.
scale with commercial it generally does not work out.
No, usually not. Usually it's a larger boiler type system.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all the panelists. This is, first I have a challenge and then I have a question. The challenge goes out to Jane at the end. I think your action to create, individual action among the public is an excellent idea. But in order to do that, there needs to be a place for a single voice. So I challenge you on your website to have a place where the public can acknowledge those businesses in LA that are green, that are doing the right thing. So that people can go to your website and say, hey, these are businesses that are green. I'm going to promote those businesses or go to those businesses. I think as a resident of LA, one of the issues is we don't know. And that brings me to the question to the rest of the panel. And that is, we do not know what businesses in LA are doing to be green. There is no lens that is giving us information on which companies are installing solar, or which companies are providing, waterless urinals in their businesses so that their employees use them. There is not enough information that's given out to the public. Do you have a source where we can go to get that information?